So hello and welcome to week 4 of How to Teach at Buddha Dharma University. And this week's lesson is called The Mechanics of Learning. So as we discussed, we're going to start with our activation strategies. So to start this lesson, so pause this video here if you need so that you can write down or type out your responses to the following questions. So our first thing is, do you think you know how you learn best? And if you can, explain. And if you don't really have a great idea of how you learn best, think about, how do you learn easier? Do you learn easier through reading, listening to someone explain something, writing, doing, or something else? Next thing to consider is, what type of environment do you learn best in? So as you are writing this down, just make sure you pause this video because I'm going to clip along here, but pause this video so you can write down your responses to this and then come back when you are finished writing down your answers. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the difference between pedagogy and andragogy. You don't need to remember these terms, but I am going to just go through these real quickly so that we can take a look at some of the differences and similarities, mostly differences between these two terms. So pedagogy is what I engage in when I am acting in the capacity of a public school teacher. So pedagogy is the education of children, and learning is teacher-led. It is teacher-evaluated, and experience of the teacher is the main resource, and content is sequenced and delivered, and the process is externally motivated. Andragogy is the education of adults, and oftentimes andragogy, the education of adults, is self-directed. The student is able to be a little more responsible for their own learning. They can engage in self-evaluation. They have a good idea of where they stand, how they're doing. Their own experience as an adult is a resource that they can draw on. Usually they are eager learners because they are appearing in a learning space voluntarily. They're there because they want to be. Young students are not usually. So, and they are task-oriented. Adults are internally motivated to learn. They don't need someone cheering them on and telling them how fun it is to do something. So andragogy is where we are. That is what we are going to be talking about. And even when I'm offering my perspective as an educator who engages in pedagogy, there are elements of pedagogy that can be applied in andragogy as well. So we're going to talk about learning styles. Now, I do want to offer a word on learning styles. So there is some new information regarding what learning styles, whether learning styles are a relevant way to think about educating people. So so this is part of the articles that you would have, one of the articles that you would have read from. This one is particularly from the University of Michigan. And the information provided here is important to understand. So learning styles, they're mentioned in one of the articles that you've read. So there are different types of, traditionally speaking, we think of people as being auditory learners, visual learners, kinesthetic learners, which just means that people learn through doing. And the current set of studies shows that there is no empirical evidence to show that teaching to a learning style is effective. So for example, if you have a student who is, you decide is an auditory learner, or that maybe you think a majority of the kids in your class or the participants of your learning group are auditory learners. They learn through listening. It is no longer considered helpful to then go through and give them a bunch of just auditory-based lessons. So this part of the article states that while that learning styles are dangerous because sometimes educators become too focused on delivering lessons in a particular way that they think a student operates under. So I'm going to say it's important to understand that the focus of this article explains that studies show that favoring one's learning style over another is unhelpful. I agree with that. Okay, there's no empirical study that shows that presenting material in a preferred learning style improves learning. I also agree with that. I am going to say, here's a big but. Presenting information multiple times in multiple ways is best practice. And by this I mean it's okay to present to multiple learning styles. And this is a method that I personally use because I am someone who does not do well with just receiving auditory input to learn a concept. I don't do well with just seeing something and absorbing it. That doesn't work for me. I need to do. I am a kinesthetic learner. So I'm the classic case of a person who, if you're trying to show me how a game or a new board game works, if you just tell me what has to happen, that means absolutely nothing to me. It means nothing. Information goes in one ear and out the other. It means nothing. I have to do. I have to play the game, and then I'll know how it works. Some people, for example, my brother, can read the instructions on the back of a board game and go, oh yeah, got it. I know how this works. Not me. So I will posit that there are people who do need one form of learning opportunity, learning style over others. Now, what this article is saying is that focusing on just one is unhelpful. This is true because sometimes the way we learn something will shift depending on what it is we're trying to learn. So if I'm doing something like learning how a board game works, I have to do. However, I am a musician as well. As a musician, I need the auditory input. If I can hear the way a song works and I listen to it a couple times and I have the notes in front of me, visual, then I can do more accurately with those two supports in place over just looking at the notes and playing it. So that shows that depending on what it is a person is doing, sometimes those needs and those learning styles can shift. That's an anecdotal thing, but I think that that is what this article refers to, is that students need multiple forms of input in order to be able to learn. Also, what this article says is that when we focus on just one learning style, one type of input, we are not giving students the opportunity to develop the other skills that we also want them to develop. So if a student is primarily an auditory learner, they need the instructions and the information through hearing, and that's the main way they receive information, but then we don't give them much opportunity for the visual input, reading the words on a page. We're not developing their reading skills, their reading comprehension skills. That's what this article is kind of pointing to. So there was this thing for a while when this new information came out that learning styles are not real. I don't believe that's true. I do think that learning styles are very real, but we need to understand that in different scenarios, different situations, depending on what it is we are asking a student to do, those needs might shift. And we also want to give students the opportunity to practice the other types of learning as well, so that they are becoming more well-rounded. So, even when we're talking about adult learners, it's important to remember that repetition and engagement are how people learn. So have your learners hear the information, read it, talk about it, and then also to do it. And if we offer all those opportunities to the people in our learning groups, we offer them the best opportunity for success in learning whatever that skill or information or concept might be. So this is a rather short video because that was just the big caveat that I wanted to present to all of you. For this week's work, at the end of reading the articles and watching this video, you do have a quiz. So make sure you read through the articles and contemplate the methods that are mentioned in the articles, and make sure, just give some thought as to what it is that you would like your students to do, and consider also what I mentioned about providing students with multiple opportunities of engagement that use different skills, so that you are able to hit as wide of a swath of your audience as you are able to with that information. That's it. See you in week 5.